Hi, I'm Pastor Dave, and welcome to the final hour. Okay, we've made it. This is the fifth episode of 5 shows I want to do on special inside access with the IDF. And folks, this last one is probably the toughest one to do because I was down at the Nova Festival, and I want to talk about that in a moment, but I was able to have an interview with an intelligence officer who was actually on duty on October 7th when everything took place there at the Nova Festival. I'm telling you to sit with him and talk with him. Now, this is almost 2 years after the fact, and he was about breaking down in tears, kind of reliving what happened 2 years ago. And in fact, when we first started talking, he almost hesitated because he didn't want to go back there, but he did. He was very kind and generous. Now, if you notice, when you watch the video, I did not record his face. He did not want to be on camera. So you hear his voice. That will be his voice you will hear. And the interview was him down actually at the Nova Festival. In the course of this series, too, people said, well, do you know what the Nova Festival is all about? And yes, I understand what that's all about. The gathering that day was when they got together and they were just dancing and relaxing and the music, the genre of music that was playing and the whole theme of that, yeah, most people who watch Bible prophecy said that would not be something that we would listen to. It was called progressive trance. That's what it was called. So basically, this type of music, this genre of music came to Israel in the 1990s. And what happened was some soldiers from the IDF, their time was up. And remember, they joined the military over there right after high school. So it goes from high school, there's no college. It's high school into the military. And for some, it was very a stressful time. And once their 2 or 3 years were up, they got out and they wanted to go and relax and get away from everything. And they end up going to Portugal. And over in Portugal, they found some music that was this progressive trance music. It was in Portugal, it was in Hungary, it was in Brazil. And as they traveled and they heard this music, they brought that type of music back to Israel. And it became very popular in the clubs in Israel, and it became very popular as far as nightlife in Israel. Again, not a genre that you and I would listen to. It was just something that they would kind of meditate on, and it can almost get kind of new agey, to tell you the truth. That's really what it can get. But that's not what the whole part of this was. Now, the timing of this festival in October, it was built around 2 different Jewish holidays, basically. And both these holidays were revolved around the harvest and community events. So they did it out in the desert. It's a park, really, is where it's at, but it's kind of out in the desert. And they were just out there having this good time with music that you and I probably wouldn't listen to. I'm making an assumption there. But then the scene changed, and it became disgusting what took place there. Now, I will admit what was being done before the Hamas attack probably wasn't anything that was honoring to God. It was kind of like when the Israelites were wandering in the desert, how they were complaining and griping, and that wasn't really honoring to God. And I will say, why this time was in the desert, it may not have been very God honoring, but that's no excuse and no reason for what took place there. Now, when I sat down with the intelligence officer, part of the IDF, and I asked him, what was it like for that day? I didn't know how to even begin the interview. What do you say of the things he experienced? And I anticipated, knowing what took place there, I anticipated what he was going to say. So the first question really was the hardest. Can you explain to me what it was like to be there that day? And again, he took a deep breath and he started to talk. So I want you to hear his words. So I'm gonna pause here. And once you understand the setup, yes, there was a lot of young people there. There was 3,000 young people there, mostly young people. They were doing this progressive dance, this progressive trance type dancing, music. There was a stage there, and then the terrorists came in, and from that point on, well, you know what? I'm going to let you listen to his words first, and I'll be back in just a second. I'm trying to understand what it was like that day. So from a first person perspective, walk us through it.
Well, it's very hard to describe what really happened here, unless you got the images and the films that our enemy took live. during that day, because we're sitting here in a site that how can I describe it? Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay.
Here on this soil, my brothers and sisters was murdered, raped, and abused by, I can't call them human beings, because till today I can't believe there is a human being on earth that can do things like that.
All right, I'm going to pause it here because there you hear him saying what took place there, you can't even imagine a human being doing. You know, in this series, we've talked about we were up in Betula, we were up by Lebanon, we were over in Syria, I brought you down to Gaza. And if there's going to be a war, and I'm saying what's taking place in Israel right now is not a war. The Middle East is not at war. This is terrorism. And as this interview continues, you're going to see he's going to warn us towards the end that this is terrorism, and it took place in Israel, but it could very well take place anywhere in the world. And when he talked about what he saw and what he witnessed that day, what took place on those grounds in that day, he can't even imagine any human being doing that to another human being. It was demonic. And that's what I'm saying. It was not a war. This is terrorism. Now, I want you to, I got several pieces I want you to hear from him. We're going to spend much of the interview, I'm going to share much of the interview with you today, but I want you to understand this is where he's setting it up. I can't imagine anybody doing anything as disgusting as this. This group was not attacking military bases. They were not attacking military, facilities. They were not attacking military personnel. They were slaughtering, desecrating, abusing young life. Young life. This was just despicable. So let me continue with the interview so you can hear some more of what he has to say.
And not just the act and the horror and the things that I can't even repeat about what I did here. But for me, I'm telling myself, it wasn't human. It's demons that came right from hell to do that horrible things.
I could not put it any better than that. As he said, to quote him, demons that came from hell to do horrible things. Now, I have some footage because of the IDF. I do have some footage of what's happening in Syria right now. Not a year ago, not 10 years ago, but happening right now within the last 30 days. I have some other footage, what took place with the Hamas and some of the terrorists. And I'm telling you, what he says is it's spot on. This was demonic. This is demonic. Anybody who would understand what they were doing and how they were doing it. And again, some of the things he shared with me, I'm just not comfortable in going in that graphic of details. He was very graphic in some of the details, which I am not going to put on the air. I may share a later time, but I'm mind boggled how any woman, any female could ever get behind Hamas and ever stand in a protest and say free Palestine or say from the river to the sea, because you do not understand what is taking place in this ground, in this territory. And as he said, it was like demons came from hell to do horrible things. Now, let's continue with the interview. Let me continue with the videos, and you can hear him continue on what he experienced that day.
It started with a platoon of terrorists that came all the way from Nazareth, and they was on their way to the city of Netivot to do a massacre there, but I missed the turn, and drive right and arrived here, and they saw the traffic jam, and they saw thousands of people here. So they jumped from their pickups and stormed on that civilians that was in the traffic jam and started a huge massacre. The hugest massacre that the Jewish people known since the Holocaust.
All right, now he mentioned the Holocaust there, and again, so you can kind of, yeah, if you go back through history and you understand the Holocaust, I mean, putting human beings into a train and take them to a camp and actually putting them in ovens and killing them that way, stripping them naked, starving them, and just killing millions of humans. Yes, they were Jewish, but they were human beings. And this was women, this was children, this was everybody. To have that take place during the Holocaust, to think that anything could ever compare to that is unimaginable. But what took place on October 7th is exactly what that was like. And that's what the point he was trying to make. If you can get a picture of the Holocaust and how demonic that was and the things that were done to other human beings, that's what took place at the Nova Festival down in Israel, just north of Gaza. Let's continue. Let's continue. And he's going to give you, this is not an opinion. It's going to sound like an opinion, but he's going to explain to you what he has witnessed and what he's seen, not just that day, but in prior experience dealing with terrorists. Again, this is the intelligence officer. This is part of the Israeli military that we're talking with, and he's going to explain some more of his experience, what he's seen, both the aftermath and doing as he's taking these battles on, as he's defending and trying to protect the innocents. He's giving you, and he's opening up and giving you some first-hand understanding. So let's go back to the interview.
And what they done here, it's unbelievable. Because some of them arrested during that day, and their hands was full of blood till the shoulder. And if you saw the images after the rape, our girls and our sisters, they murdered them by putting their hands inside the belly, and they cut organs from alive people, and they took their hearts with their bare hands. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that our enemies, all their desires and all what they want is to kill Jewish with their hands. And they did it with a smile on their faces.
All right, and again, as I want to emphasize, when he said, and they did all these things with a smile on their face, that really paints the picture. I mean, that's really quite a word picture. So you have these terrorists coming in, torturing people, abusing people, desecrating bodies, and that's not enough. And they do it, he says, they get joy out of this. How in the world can anybody hurt somebody, do this to somebody, and get joy out of this? It's just, again, it's just unimaginable. And this, I got to tell you, the reason I'm doing these 5 shows on the IDF, because I spent time up by Lebanon. I spent time, we were on the ground in Syria. We were down on the border in Gaza. We were there to see what's taking place, to hear firsthand accounts. My whole heart was, I want to bring the truth back to the Western world. Because in the Western media, we're not being told any of this. This is why there's protests and uproars on this side of the world, because we don't understand what's taking place on that side. As I come back and talk about this, People just they just want to time out because it's too graphic. It's too raw. It's too hard hitting because it's real. It's happening. And to imagine that this can actually take place, and for them, when I say them, the terrorists, to do what they're doing, and to have a smile on their face, to enjoy it, to rejoice over it. And I heard the same thing in Samaria with the farmers. I saw what happened with some of the farms. I saw what happened up in, again, in Metula. We saw what happened over in Mayor Shams with the soccer field, and the intention and the demonic activity that took place. So it's not just one place that I'm hearing this. You're seeing it, both the aftermath and the threat of it's happening again. Look what's happening with the hostages that day. They took 250 hostages. And the ones that are alive, if they're still alive, what they're doing with them now. Since we started this series, and since the IDF has been going into Gaza City, where the core of Hamas is still remaining, what's left of it, since the IDF is going into Gaza City, what did Hamas do? They are now bringing the remaining hostages that they have above ground. There was a video just released sent to one of the mothers of the hostages saying, and her son was in a car above ground. Hadn't been above ground. He's been in tunnels, for all this time. We're going on 700 days. He's been in a tunnel, and now he's brought up above ground. Why is he brought above ground? Because Hamas wants, if Israel comes in and attacks Gaza City, he wants Israel to be killing the hostages. They want more death and destruction. That's what they want. This is not about war. This is not about taking land. This is all demonic. I'm hoping you understand that as you hear this man's voice. Now, let me take you to the next section of this video. He's going to remind you of something. He's going to bring something back up that he compares this to. And when he does that, I will explain and show you a picture afterwards. But let's get back to the interview so you can kind of hear him one more time.
And you know what? I'm ashamed ourselves because we forgot. We forgot the history. We forgot all our history. They did it before and a long time ago. I'm not talking about the massacre at Hebron. I'm talking about two reserves guys that made a mistake on the way home from the reserve and get in Ramallah accidentally, and the police of the Arabs took them to the police station, and then the mob came and breached inside a police station, and they murdered them the same way. They just put their hands inside the belly of these guys and took their hearts. And then one of them went to the window and showed all the crowd the heart was still beating in his hand. And then have the famous picture doing like that. He's all his hands full of blood of our soldiers. And unfortunately, we forgot that. We forgot who and what is our enemy.
All right, now, what he's talking about when he said, and we forgot our enemies. What he's talking about goes back about 25 years. He's going back to October 12th in the year 2000. And when he talked about, and again, he gave some graphic details. They were so graphic, I hesitated putting this out for the public to hear. But I want you to understand that. He says when the terrorists put their hands inside someone and rip their heart out. And he talked about what took place with the police officer where the terrorists, put the heart up and the heart was still beating. Again, it's very graphic, I understand that, but let me show you a picture here. This is the pictures went around the world globally. And this is the terrorist putting his hands up, and you can see the blood stains on his hands. So in this case, the terrorists, who knows what weapons they use, but ultimately they use their own hands to do this to someone's body. How do you even, what do you say? It's just so unimaginable that this kind of evil is taking place. And folks, that's what this is. It is just pure evil. And again, we said we need to remember our enemies. It's not the first time. This is kind of the MO of what the terrorists do. And again, I've said it before. I have video footage of what's taking place in Syria and what took place in October 12th of 2000 and what took place on October 7th of 2023. It's going on right now in Syria as well. And for the mind of me, I just can't understand how places like Germany can send hundreds of $millions, Europe can send $100 million over to the Syrian government because of what's taking place now. You're getting a picture, you're getting word pictures from someone who's been there, seeing it, understanding it, dealing with the aftermath. Let's go back to him. I got two more clips I want to play for you here before we wrap up this show. So let's go back and listen to this next clip.
And I hope that wake-up call is not just for us. That should be a wake-up call to the rest of the world, the civilization. And I hope and I pray God to open the eyes and the heart of all the believers to understand who they are.
You say we're leaving in 5?
And beware.
Yeah, we got about an hour and a half drive to get to
what they're capable to do.
All right, so he said, remember what they are capable of doing. So they are capable of doing. It's not a question of being capable. I mean, the question to me was why. And as this man sat on this bench and spent this time with me, and as he was sharing this, again, he was bothered by just reliving it, just explaining it. I was surprised how graphic he was. I was surprised how open he was. And I could just, well, you can hear the pain in his voice. You can't see his face, but I'm telling you, I saw it in his eyes. And afterwards, as we talked, and I thanked him for his time, having a conversation off camera and talking with him, he just, they're thankful that we're bringing the truth out because no one wants to hear the truth. That's the opinion of them. No one really wants to hear the truth. All they want to do is blame Israel. And that may be, Bible prophecy coming to pass, where the whole world is against Israel. Israel's kind of isolated. It seems world leaders want to be global on everything except with Israel. They want Israel to be isolated. And we can say that's part of Bible prophecy. But I'm hoping as you hear this man, this soldier, giving you a first-hand account of what that day was like. If nothing else, I hope it drives you to your knees. I hope it allows you to reconnect with God. I hope you pray, Lord, open my eyes and my ears. Let me really understand the truth. Because I don't want anybody to be deceived on thinking that this is nothing more than just evil. This is pure evil. And as believers, for those who love Jesus, we have to stand against evil. Folks, with this 5-week series and with the different aspects I brought to you, with my time with the IDF, I am trusting and hoping that you're saying, no, enough is enough. We are going to stand against evil. We're going to stand against this. Now, let me wrap it up with one more clip from him. And this is really kind of a fitting way to end, because he says, you guys need to really understand what this is happening. We can't bury our heads in the sand. Well, let's listen to this last clip, and then I'll close after that.
And they're already captured almost half of Europe. There is a lot of cities in Europe that you can get in because they are already captured and conquered. And they're on their way to the United States of America to do the same. Because that's what they're believing, and that's their religion. and they have patience. They have patience until the moment they will have the power to do what they've done to us here, and they will do it again and again and again, and they will never rest.
All right, he made two comments in that section of the clip. He said, and they almost captured half of Europe, which is true. If you look at right now, London, for the first time in its history, is no longer Christian. I've done shows on this before. I've written articles on this before. How much Islam has gone into the European countries, how much Muslims and mosques and a different religion has taken over Europe. So he's saying that. We're not saying it's all terrorism. We're saying that Islam, Muslims, mosque, the religion, everything has flipped over in Europe. And we're not saying that everybody who's a Muslim is a terrorist. I am not saying that. I don't want anybody to think that. But the mentality of what's happening with the terrorists, he's saying, the way he ended this, he's saying, and they will never rest. There's an aspect to that which is very true. I like to ask people, I ask people, what is it that you want? I kind of challenge people when they say, I'm not sure I'm not sure God is leading me. I'm not sure God is directing me. I'm not sure. So I say, time out. What is it that you want? When I deal with couples who are having marriage issues that come in, I say, I need to ask you a question. I'm not being rude, but I need an honest answer. What do you want? And if the couple can't say, well, we want a godly marriage, then my hands are tied as far as helping them. And when I ask somebody, what is it that you want? If they don't say, well, I want God to be honored or God to be glorified, if they say, well, it's all about me, then again, we're limited in how much we can help. But he's asking the question, they will never rest. So I ask the question, what is it they want? Can you answer that question? What do you think these terrorists want? Do they want to control Gaza? They just want Gaza? Do they want every Jew killed and eliminated? Do they want to take over Israel? What do they want? They've been very vocal in that. Can you answer those questions? It's not for me to put the answer there. It's for you to answer the question, what do you think they want? Why would they do what they've done in the past, here, and possibly in the future? And again, he gave me some pictures. He gave me some more insight, which I did not put on the air, which I did not share, because it's nothing more than just graphic details. It's disgusting. It's evil. It's demonic. And I thought, I'm not sure what purpose it would serve in giving more graphic details than what he did in the interview, the part of the interview I did share with you. But I want you to ask the question, what do you think they want? Do they want Sharia law? Do they want to put women back in the place that they used to be? Do they want to control the world? Do they want to kill the big Satan and the small Satan? Do they want to do away with Israel and then come after America? What do you think they want? And I think the most fitting way and the most proper way to end this 5-week series is to leave that question there so that you can answer it. We know what God wants. We know what believers in the church wants. But this group, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, what's happening in Iran, what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening in Syria, what's taking place in Gaza, what do you think they want? Because you have to come to that final conclusion. If you don't, then we just bury our heads in the sand, I think. It's a general statement. We just bury our heads in the sand. We go, that doesn't affect me. That's not who I am. I have nothing to do with that. That's happening way over there. I'm just worried about what I have to worry about. Folks, as he said, this could come anywhere. It could happen anywhere, and they will never rest. Well, God says there will be a time when they will stop. God says there will be a time when he will put an end to it. The question is, where will the church be in between now and when God says it's time? What side and what action will the church take? And when I say the church, again, the church is not a building. The church is people. The church is believers. The church is you and I coming together. At what point do we say enough? I will end with that. I'll be back next week. I got an interview coming up. Well, Kurt Reed will actually be in studio with me talking about our next podcast. So the next final hour will come out in a week. And again, I'll have Kurt Reed with me. So I hope you tune in for that. But between now and then, I hope everything you do and say glorifies God. I hope these 5 episodes from the IDF was eye-opening, challenging, and I hope going forward we can get more serious and be drawn closer to God's Word. Because when you go through times like this, you either push God away or you bring God closer to you. So I'm trusting that all of us will walk a little bit closer with God as we seek to have our hearts knit together with His. I'll see you next week. God bless you. Thank you for watching Interpreting Time. Please like, comment, and subscribe.